Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to do some basic indexing. First you go to familysearch.org and then you come to indexing and hover over that and click on web indexing. It'll ask you to log in and you need to have your username and password for FamilySearch. If you don't have that, you can go create one or it'll help you do that. If you go to help, it'll help you log in. So you come into here and this is going to be the basic session. What we do as a ward is we have a ward group. So if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see it. In indexing, you're automatically put into a stake and a ward group. So let's go into there. I am the ward indexing director. So what I do, this has a lot of information, but what I do is I go and adopt projects for our ward that are easier to do. And I try to do that so you guys don't have to go search for them to do that. So here's one right here that's nice and easy to do. It's typewritten. We're going to work on that one today, but there are some other ones right here. If you scroll up and down, that some of them are handwriting, but they're not that bad. They're pretty easy to read, so give those a try, but we're going to do this one today. Here's all the members who have indexed. Here's our goal that we're working on. You can see that we're at 76% of our goal, and let's work to get to 75,000 by the end of the year. Okay. Let's just go down and start indexing on this new one. So it pops up here. Come in, and usually this is up. The project instructions are showing when you first come up. A lot of people dismiss them, but they're actually very helpful to get going on indexing. Now if you want, you can come click that button and go read in here if you have questions about this project. Most of the time you don't have to do that. Most of the time you just have to read just a small part, which I'm going to show you right now. So if you scroll down, and there's always a section that says how to index this certain kind of project. Alright, so let's click on that and it opens up a new tab. In here it will show you what to do, right? If you go back here, there's going to be fields that you have to enter, and this shows you how they match up. So the first field is the record number at the top. Sometimes it can be down here at the bottom. Second field is the surname. Third field, the given names, first and middle names. Then you can see this doesn't have any age on it, so that you do Control B, which is to mark it blank. You have to mark the fields blank that have a star next to it. But here's the date of birth, so we can enter that, March 9th, 1937. And then the only other relevant information on this field is the naturalization date, which is 1970. And you can see date certificate issued. These are naturalization records or citizenship records. They gained citizenship. So your ancestor or someone's ancestor may have come to the United States and they're here for a while, and then they applied for citizenship, and this is when they were given citizenship. And there's the year right there. It is, we know it's 1970 because this card is typewritten, and they didn't have typewriters back in the 1800s. So we know that's a 19 in front of that. All right, and then the other fields are not showing up here. Birth, town, country, they don't show up, so you mark them blank. Same with the spouse. There is no spouse on here. All right, let's go back to here. When you first, get rid of this for a moment. When you first come in here, it asks you if you should index this image right here. And it does have valid information on here, so I'm going to leave the yes and click next. You could choose no extractable data if this was blank, or you could tell that there wasn't any extractable data on here. As well, if it is a duplicate of the other images that are down here at the bottom, then you could mark it duplicate, and it'll say which one is a duplicate of, and you choose that and move on. We're going to hit yes. Okay, this is valid right here. We do want to index it. You can see it moving along at the bottom here. That one looks good, and this one looks good also. Then once it gets through all of them, it jumps you into the indexing. Here's a good tip right here. If you ever have a question about a field, and here is one right here that I'm going to go into, birth year. That's a very important field where people find their ancestor, right? So let's index that field right here. Let's see, date of birth. Actually, this one does have it. Some of them only have age and they don't have the birth date. So, but if that was the case, I would think, well, I could calculate the birth year, right? This is when they're naturalized, and this is when they're born, and you could calculate it. Here's the age right here. Subtract that from that. That's 33 years old, and you could put that in there. So let's go look in here. All right, and you click on that little purple help icon, and it'll tell you what to do. Type in the age in years and fractions of years recorded, round down to the nearest year. Do not calculate the age from other information on the document, such as birth year and event year. So that answers your question right there. But you could calculate. In this case, we're not going to. We're just going to do blank. In the other case, where they give the age and not the birth year, you could calculate it. I actually do that, and let's see. Does it talk anything about that? Oh, it says do not calculate the birth date or any information on the document. And they say that because it could throw the researcher off, the person that's trying to find their ancestor, if you calculated wrong, and so they don't want you to do that. So sometimes I do it because I just feel like this is a key piece of information, and I make sure I don't calculate it wrong. It's up to you and what you feel. Sometimes is what I go by. All right, so let's index this. Put the number in 107 8 5 6 4 4. That's the surname. In these records, it comes. Actually, no. Actually, this is wrong. It would be. Sometimes in these records, let's go back to this, it shows that it's put in first, the surname is first. But it doesn't say that right here, and it doesn't have a comma. Let's see, that may be a little confusing right there, but this looks like the last name to me, so that's what I'm going to put in. And I'm going to put in the given names there. We already did that field. This one is March, because you can see it right here. 7th, and the year 1945. And date the certificate was issued 1978. Okay, and it does not have birthplace information anywhere on here. It does have this, but this is the court. It's not the birth date information. So we do a Control B to mark it blank. Any of the fields that have a star, you have to enter a value. So you can do unreadable. Up here on the button bar, there's a few helpful buttons. You could put like unreadable. That's actually not the case. I'm going to do a Command B or Control B to mark it blank. And the same with all these. Take a look at these buttons up here. This one is to go back to the web indexing, and if you do that, it will still save your information for you, and you can work on this record later. It's always saved, and you can just come back in. This one is quality check. What it does, I click it, it comes up and it says, hey, you have not entered values for these fields. Usually you do that at the end. This is when you want to submit a batch. Just hover over it and you'll see what it says. If you want to mark the field blank, which we do on that one, you can mark all of these fields blank. We don't want to do that. This is mark it unreadable, or the whole, all the fields unreadable. This is if you want to add new entry, if there's an extra person on the field. So let's see, sometimes if there's extra people on here, you can click on that, or you can delete them as well. You accidentally added one, you can delete it. Just make sure you're on that person and hit the delete button. These are ditto fields. I'm not going to cover that right now. It's a little bit more complicated. But if we were doing handwriting, there's a really nice thing to show you what the characters look like. So use that. Also, if you want to share this with someone, you can go on Facebook, and there's a group called Share Batch Indexing. Go on there and you can post it if you have a question about a field, and say, go out, explain it to them, and let's just click on that. So it will copy, you can copy that link right there and take it out to Share Batch Indexing. You have to join the group and post it in there, and they will answer your question. As well, you can call me. But and here's how you put international characters into a field. Right, you go into the field and then you click on it and it will put it in the field for you. And here's how you get back to project instructions. Over here on the menus, it quality check, submit batch, return batch. If you do get a batch that you just can't index or you don't know what to do, just return it. Let's see, data entry. Usually this is the easiest one. If you're doing census, then table is great. There's also a ruler that you can make show up. Reference images is if you want to see the images past. Let's click on it. Here's the 4 images for this batch, but if you want to go view these other images, because sometimes the information bleeds over onto the next image, you can look at that and then go look at the information on that image and enter it in the field. Right, that's what that is for. Also, there is help right here. Basic indexing guidelines. Go try that out if you have more questions. Keyboard shortcuts are nice to make it go faster if you like to keep it on the keyboard. Share a batch. Labs features. Open shared batch. If someone gives you an identifier for a shared batch, you can open it right here. And that's about it. Let's go back to indexing. This is blank right here, so there is no spouse. I'm going to blank everything out. There is no extra person, so we're going to go to the next image, and we're going to index that last name. Now this time, it did have a last name, comma, first name. Oh, what am I doing? All right, let's try that again. Let's enter the record number. I accidentally put the given name in the surname field, but I fixed it. If you look back on here, you know that the surname is the first one. It's the first piece of the name that shows up. Age, it does not have it on here, and we're not going to calculate it. And it does have the birth, which is July 16th, 1892. And they're naturalized right here, 1954. Okay, there is no birth information here that I can see. So I'm going to blank that out. There's no spouse on this record. So go to the next one. These are fairly simple. 3, 5, 5, 1, 2, 6. And if you've entered it before, it suggests it. I just hit enter, and I don't have to type it in, which is nice. There is no age. Blank it out. January 2nd, 1899. Naturalization year, 1954. And there is no birth information or spouse. Blank it out. Okay, this one is, there is no birth, so I'm going to blank out that. I am going to calculate this one because I know how much it helps people find it. I'm going to do, you can do what you feel good about. I feel good about doing this. It's 1940. Let me use the calculator so I don't make mistakes. Minus 22 years. 1918 is the birth year. Now if, let's see, yep, that's what it is, birth naturalization year, 1940. Birth town, there's no birth information or spouse. And I'm done. So the submit batch button shows up. The submit batch button shows up, and you can see that I'm on the last image here too. You can always go back to any of the images if you need to go back and review. But I'm going to submit it. It goes through quality check, and it looks like it's good because it came up. See, quality check, no issues. And I'm done. I submit it. And it comes up, and if I want to keep indexing, I can. That actually counted for 4 people right there, because there are 4 different people that we entered. If you want to do a similar batch, you can. So you can just keep on going, keep on indexing. Or you can go back here and you can see, I mean, if you care about the stats, this would be 4 more than it was before. And you can see that the goal increased. So that's it.